Julian gave her the key to his own destruction, and Elara threw it into the fire. Was it true love, or was she just caught in the most perfect trap ever built? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Does a villain deserve a happy ending? If Julian's devotion made your heart flutter, please share this story with a fellow soul who loves the dark side of romance. Don't forget to follow Ink and Paradox for more cinematic journeys into the hearts of the obsessed. I'm your storyteller, and I'll be waiting for you in the shadows of the next chapter. The city is a concrete jungle, cold and unforgiving, but she is the only light I've ever seen. I remember the first second I saw her, not the minute, the second. It was raining, a gray October afternoon that felt like a funeral for my soul. She was standing under a bus stop, her hair clinging to her cheeks like spun gold. She looked so fragile, so breakable, and in that moment, I decided I would be the one to break her, just so I could be the one to put her back together. They call me a monster in the high-rises of this city, a man with no heart, only a ledger of debts and a hunger for power. But they don't see me when the sun goes down. They don't see me standing in the darkness across from her apartment, counting her breaths, watching the way she tucks a stray lock of hair behind her ear while she reads. She thinks her life is a series of coincidences. She thinks the promotion she got yesterday was based on merit. It wasn't. I bought the company just to make sure she never had to worry about a paycheck again. She thinks the man who tried to harass her in the subway disappeared because of luck. He didn't. I made sure he'll never walk the same way again. I am her guardian, her shadow, her secret god. And today is the day I finally let her accidentally meet the man who already knows the scent of her skin. I straighten my tie, the silk feeling like a noose of my own making. "Soon, Elara," I whisper into the cold glass of my penthouse window. Soft breath. "Soon you'll realize that the only safe place in this world is in my arms." The hunt is over. The harvest begins. The coffee shop was bustling, a symphony of clinking spoons and mindless chatter. I hate crowds. I hate the way people breathe on one another. Except for her. I watched her through the window for exactly 4 minutes. She was struggling with a heavy stack of books and a steaming latte. She's so clumsy, so beautifully human. I timed my entrance to the millisecond. As she turned, I stepped into her orbit. The impact was soft, but the electricity, it was a lightning strike to my chest. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she gasped, her eyes wide and panicked. My hands acted before my brain could. I caught the coffee before it could stain her white dress. I caught her waist before she could stumble. Her skin was warmer than I imagined. Through the thin fabric of her blouse, I could feel her heart racing. Thump, 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 thump. A rhythm I wanted to own. "Steady," I said, my voice dropping to that low velvet rasp I knew would make her shiver. I didn't let go of her waist. Not yet. I wanted to feel the way her breath hitched against my chest. "Thank you," she whispered, looking up at me. In her eyes, I saw curiosity. Not fear, not yet. She doesn't know who I am. To her, I'm just a handsome stranger with expensive shoes and a steady hand. "You should be more careful, Elara," I murmured. She froze, her brow furrowed. How do you know my name?" I felt a dark thrill dance down my spine. I gave her the smile I reserved for the boardrooms, the one that looks charming but hides the teeth of a wolf. "Your name tag," I lied smoothly, nodding toward the lanyard peeking out of her bag. She laughed, a sound like silver bells, and I felt my resolve crumble just a little bit more. Right, of course. I'm a mess today. No, I said, stepping an inch closer, invading her personal space until she was trapped between me and the counter. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. I reached out, my fingers trembling with a hunger I had suppressed for months. I tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. My thumb brushed the sensitive skin of her lobe. She gasped, her lips parting. I wanted to kiss her. I wanted to claim her right there, amidst the scent of roasted beans and mundane lives. But I am a patient man. I am a builder. And I am building a cage of gold for my little bird. I'm Julian, I whispered, my breath fanning over her lips. And I think I owe you a fresh coffee, and perhaps the rest of your life. She laughed, thinking I was joking. I wasn't. 3 days later, I sent the first bouquet. Not roses. Roses are a cliché. I sent black baccara, flowers that look like they've been dipped in blood. I watched through the hidden camera I'd installed in her office months ago. I watched her face go from confusion to a soft, rosy glow. She searched for a card. There was none. I want her to wonder. I want her to dream of me. That night, I followed her home. The streetlights were flickering, casting long, distorted shadows on the pavement. She seemed nervous. Good. I want her to feel that the world is dangerous. I want her to feel that the only place she is truly safe is when I am nearby. A shadow moved in the alleyway behind her. A drunk, stumbling toward her, with a hollow look in his eyes. I felt the familiar heat of rage rise in my throat. How dare he look at her? How dare he exist in the same air she breathes? I stepped out of the darkness before he could even open his mouth. The drunk looked at me, saw the death in my eyes, and turned tail. Elara spun around, her hand over her heart. Julian? I didn't speak. I just walked to her. I grabbed her shoulders, pulling her into the shelter of my body. You're shaking, I whispered, my voice thick with a possessiveness I couldn't hide. I thought someone was following me, she whispered into my coat. I wrapped my arms around her, crushing her against me. I could feel her smallness, her vulnerability. It was intoxicating. No one will ever hurt you, I promised, pressing my lips to the top of her head. I'll kill anyone who tries. She pulled back, looking at me with wide, searching eyes. You say things like a villain in a movie, she teased, though her voice was shaky. I leaned down, my face inches from hers. Maybe I am the villain, Elara. But I'm your villain. I didn't wait for her to answer. I tilted her chin up and pressed my lips to hers. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was a claim. It tasted like rain and desperation. She melted against me, her hands clutching my lapels. She was mine. She just didn't know the price of the ticket yet. The next morning, I watched her wake up. Not from her bedside, not yet, but through the screen of my monitors in the silent sanctuary of my study. She reached for her phone, her thumb hovering over my name. I felt a jagged pull in my chest. Call me, Elara. Let me hear how my name sounds when you're still heavy with sleep. When she finally did, my voice was as smooth as expensive bourbon. You're thinking of me early today, I murmured. I couldn't sleep, she whispered. I kept thinking about the kiss. I closed my eyes, imagining the way her lips must be swollen, just a little, from my teeth. Good. I want to be the only thing that keeps you awake. I'm outside. The silence on the other end was delicious. What? Julian, it's 7 a.m. I have your favorite tea, and I have a craving to see you that won't wait until business hours. When she opened her door, she was wearing a silk robe that stopped mid-thigh. She looked soft, edible. I stepped into her apartment without an invitation, my presence filling the small space until she felt eclipsed. "You shouldn't open the door without checking the peephole," I scolded gently, setting the tea on her counter. I walked toward her, my footsteps silent on the hardwood. "The world is full of men who want to hurt things as beautiful as you." I backed her against the wall, my hands resting on either side of her head. "What about you?" she breathed, her eyes searching mine. "Are you one of them?" I leaned down, my nose brushing against hers. "I'm the man who keeps them away. But make no mistake, Elara, I am not a good man." I kissed the corner of her mouth, a slow, lingering touch that made her hands find my waist. "I'm just a man who found his religion in you." I needed her to see my world. I needed her to see the power I wielded, so she would understand exactly how protected she was. The charity gala was a sea of vultures in tuxedos and sharks in sequins. But when Elara walked in on my arm, the room went silent. I had sent her the dress myself, a deep midnight blue that clung to her curves like a second skin. I had spent $40,000 on the necklace she wore, not because she needed it, but because I wanted everyone to know she belonged to the man who could buy the stars. "They're all staring," she whispered, leaning into my side. "Let them," I growled, my hand possessively firm on the small of her back. "I want them to see what they can never have." Throughout the night, I watched her charm the very people I usually crushed under my heel. She was a sun, and they were all desperate for a bit of warmth. Every time a man lingered too long on her hand, I felt my jaw tighten. Every time she laughed at someone else's joke, I felt a murderous urge to silence the room. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I pulled her into a darkened balcony, the cold city air hitting us like a shock. "Julian, what's wrong?" I didn't answer with words. I pushed her back against the stone railing, my body a heavy weight against hers. "You were smiling at him," I hissed, my voice dark and jagged. "The senator. You let him touch your arm." "It was just a conversation, Julian. He was being polite." "I don't care about polite," I snapped, my fingers tangling in her hair. "I want your smiles. I want your attention. I want every single thought in that pretty head of yours to be about me." She looked at me, shocked, but then her expression softened. She reached up, cupping my face with her small, warm hands. "You're jealous," she whispered, a small, triumphant smile playing on her lips. "The great Julian Thorne is jealous." "I'm a man who doesn't share," I admitted, my forehead dropping to hers. "I have spent my whole life taking what I want, and I want you more than I want my next breath." She stood on her tiptoes and kissed me, not a claim this time, but a gift, a sweet, fluttering pressure that tasted like forgiveness. "I'm yours, Julian. You don't have to fight the world for me. I'm already here." I held her there for a long time, the city lights shimmering below us like fallen jewels. She thought she was giving herself to me. She didn't realize that I had already stolen her. Every lie has a shelf life. I knew that. I'm a businessman. I know how to manage risk. But with Elara, the risk was everything. She found the room. The one room in my estate I had told her was for filing and private business. I had forgotten to lock the door. Perhaps, subconsciously, I wanted her to see. I wanted the truth to burn between us so I wouldn't have to hide anymore. I stood in the doorway, watching her back. She was standing in front of the wall covered in photos of her, photos from the bus stop, photos from her office, a timeline of her life, documented by a man she thought she had met by chance. The air in the room felt like lead. "Julian?" Her voice was a ghost of itself. She turned around, her face pale, her eyes filled with a terrifying realization. You've been watching me for months. I didn't move. I didn't apologize. Since the first day I saw you, I said, my voice cold and steady. I told you I wasn't a good man, Elara. This isn't not being a good man. This is stalking. This is a lie. She tried to push past me, her eyes brimming with tears. I caught her arm, gently, but with the strength of a vice. "Let go of me," she cried, hitting my chest. "No," I whispered. I pulled her into my arms, even as she fought me. "I did it because I had to know you were safe. I did it because the world is a dark place, and you are too bright for it." "You manipulated everything," she sobbed against my shirt. "The job, the accidents, even us." "Yes," I admitted, burying my face in her neck. "I manipulated the world to bring you to me. But the love? That was the only thing I couldn't control." I let her go, stepping back. "The door is open, Elara. You can walk out. You can call the police. But know this, if you leave, I will still be there, in the shadows, watching over you. 'Cause I don't know how to exist in a world where you aren't safe." She looked at the door. Then she looked at me. The villain who loved her too much. The man who had built a kingdom just to give her a throne. She didn't run. She sank to the floor, burying her face in her hands. And I knelt beside her, pulling her into a protective embrace, knowing that the most dangerous part of the hunt was finally over. She knew who I was, and she was still here, weeks passed in a strange, heightened reality. The trust was broken, but the bond was stronger. It was a fractured glass, glued back together with gold. I became a different man with her. In the office, I was still the Reaper, but at home, I was her shadow. I spent my evenings at her feet, my head resting on her lap while she read. She would run her fingers through my hair, a silent tether that kept me from drifting into the dark. One night, it rained, just like the day we met. We were in the library, the fireplace crackling with a low amber glow. I was watching her, as I always did. "Stop it," she whispered, smiling without looking up from her book. "Stop what?" "Watching me like I'm the only thing in the room." "You are the only thing in the room," I replied, moving to sit beside her on the velvet sofa. I took the book from her hands and set it aside. I pulled her onto my lap, her legs draping over mine. "I have a gift for you," I murmured, reaching into my pocket. It wasn't a diamond. It wasn't a deed to a building. It was a small silver key. "What is this?" "The key to my heart," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "No, it's the key to the safe in my study. Inside is every piece of evidence I have on myself. The surveillance logs, the bank transfers, everything you would need to destroy me." She gasped, her fingers trembling as she took the key. "Why would you give me this?" "Because I don't want you to stay because you're trapped," I whispered, kissing her forehead. "I want you to stay because you chose the monster." She looked at the key for a long time. Then, she leaned over and tossed it into the back of the fireplace. The silver glinted once before disappearing into the embers. "I don't need a key to destroy you, Julian," she whispered, her arms winding around my neck. "I already have your heart. That's power enough." I pulled her into a deep, soul-shattering kiss. Stolen kisses in the hallway, quiet hugs in the kitchen, the way I would pull her back into bed every morning. These were the spoils of my war. I was the villain of the story, but as I felt her heart beat against mine, I knew I had won the only prize that mattered. I was no longer alone in the dark. I had brought my light into the shadows with me. The ink has dried on their story, but the echoes remain. As a bonus, please listen to the song inspired by this beautiful obsession. It's the sound of a heart that belongs only to her, and now it belongs to you.
Of hearts I've broken, words of war I've always spoken. But you're a poem in a city of prose, a wild violet where nothing grows. I watched you wake through a digital screen, the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen. I built a cage of gold and called it a home. I climbed a mountain just to be alone with you. I'm the villain of the story, the stain on the silk, but I'd burn the kingdom for a drop of your milk. Yeah, I'm the shadow, but you're the sun in my wall with the world is finally done. The door was open, the secret was out. I saw the terror, I felt the doubt. I gave you the key, I gave you the blade. I stood in the wreckage of the lies I made, but truth through the silver into the fire, and chose the man, not the empire. Architect of every chance encounter, the silent god when the world gets louder. I'm the villain